Good afternoon and welcome to IBCC and ESP presents Minding Your Business with Care. We're back this week, and we thank you for joining us. And like to just turn the program over to the president of the Indy Black Chamber of Commerce to address everyone and the members here today. We thank you guys for waiting with us today. We had a few technical difficulties, but we're going to keep everything moving in the right direction. Larry, how's things going over there?
Everything's going great. Thank you, Mr. Chase and Ms. Scott, for coming on and hanging out with IBCC again. We appreciate you giving us information that we need here in Indianapolis to help our members and our businesses grow, as a community also grow. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be on for about an hour. Please put something in the live chat if you got questions so that we can answer them the best way we can. And I will turn it over to Mr. Chase.
All right. Well, thank you, Larry, so much for that. And we have back with us Mr. Shay Scott with the S Group. And we're so glad to have her again today. As you know, Tashay is an Indianapolis native there. Her business is the S Group, where she's the president and managing partner, founded there in 2008. They serve clients with strategic solutions around taxation, accounting, and professional managed services. Of course, as I said, she's a community leader as well, an author of a lot of financial literacy programs, helping communities and churches. And she has been very successful in this collaboration, both with IBCC and other states that her and I have worked together on, successfully getting many clients help around the SBA PPP loans and the EIDL loan programs, which we're going to continue to talk about, so we can try to help your business sustain, survive, and thrive during this COVID season and the pandemic and beyond. So we're going to turn it over to Tashay here, so she can continue to give us more of that great information that we talked about, and really we're here to have an open discussion with you guys, and also answer any questions that you may have around both of these loan programs. And we're going to talk about some pivot planning and how to really mind your business around the documentation and what to do in order to prepare for the loan forgiveness portion of this act that's coming forth with us right now. All right, Mr. Shay Scott, welcome. Thank you for joining us again today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it and count it a privilege to be here, to be speaking with everyone and sharing the wisdom that I have learned and continuing to garner through this particular process. Thank you to the Indiana Black Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity. Thank you to Mr. Larry Williams for the opportunity. Thank you again, Chase Davis, for the opportunity. It's truly a pleasure to serve. I would like to say welcome to everyone, those that are watching live right now and those that will be coming a little bit later, coming on. Welcome. Believe it or not, we are surviving this particular crisis. We are surviving the different things that we're experiencing throughout the impact of COVID-19. During our last conversation, we were able to talk at some length with regards to the Economic Income Disaster Loan Program and the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. We talked about some of the ins and the outs that related to that program and how individuals were able to leverage it, or whether they were running into roadblocks and or problems with it. As it relates to the Economic Income Disaster Loan Program, that program is still available. It's still up and it's still running through the SBA. But specifically right now, the applications that they are accepting are for those that are in the agricultural business specifically. Those that are in farming or do any type of services that directly impact our agriculture. So if you have those types of businesses or you work within that particular industry, you can go directly to the SBA.gov and apply for the Economic Income Disaster Loan Program. I want to start there to make sure that everyone is aware of that. And if you know someone who happens to be within the agricultural industry, that you make them aware of that they can apply for these grants and also submit their application for the loans that are available as well. Chase, did you have any questions or do you see anything? I can't see anything coming up on my screen. And I did have a little bit of a problem hearing Mr. Williams when he was doing his introduction. So I'm going to try to look on Facebook as well for anything. Do you see anything just yet?
No, we don't have any questions as of yet, but feel
Okay.
free just to continue.
Okay, awesome. One thing that I found with the Economic Income Disaster Loan Program is that a lot of people were experiencing the lag time. I know that personally, even for my clients that we submitted the Economic Income Disaster Loan Program, we submitted it the day that the program first opened. And we had clients, I had a client actually even before this particular call started, I just had a client reach out to me and let me know, hey, I just got a response regarding my loan package. And I'm like, wow, that is hilarious because they're trickling in. That's over a month ago, you guys, that I want to dare say 6 weeks ago, that we submitted her application and she received her grant money about 2 weeks ago. So 4 weeks after we submitted her application, she got the actual grant for the Economic Income Disaster Loan Program. And then just today, within the last couple of hours, she just got the actual other information as related to the loan program. That's her. I have another client out of Colorado that received the same type of exchange with the SBA. So what am I saying with all of that? It has taken them quite a bit of time due to volume of applications that they're receiving and that they had received. And then, of course, the money being accounted for rapidly. So I just want to let you know, if you had the confirmation number, I think it was about a 12-digit number. If you receive that confirmation number and you're still waiting, you're in good company. There are other companies and businesses that experience that same type of lag in time simply because of the sheer volume of the application pool.
Okay.
Chase, did you have any questions or thoughts about that?
So as it relates to the EIDL loan, I know there's been questions around, can I still apply for it? Can you still apply for our loan? I know there's been talk around the EIDL loan coming back open once they get the agricultural loans processed, those agricultural participants processed. Is there a timeline that you see about when that EIDL program is coming back online and when people can start applying for that again?
Great question, Chase. Right now, they have not given us a timeline or a clock down or anything that we can just kind of look at and see, oh, it's going to be in the next 10 minutes or it's going to be in the next 10 days or anything of that nature. That information has not been given. What my firm has done, what I do personally, what the other accountant, my assistants do, is we check it every day. We check it multiple times a day. We check it at least 3 times a day to say, okay, has anything changed? We also, you can log in and sign up to be on their email distribution list. So we get tons of emails from the SBA.gov that we're made aware of what's going on with the program, the status, and all of that good stuff. But even with that, we still check it every day. There's not a timeline that they've given us, but what they said is right now it's for agricultural businesses because they want to give those businesses the ability to apply. You have to look at it like this, man. You're talking about, I know we've been seeing a little bit on the news about some of our poultry farms and poultry manufacturing locations and, you know, people that cut the chicken up and all that good stuff and your turkeys and whatnot being impacted by COVID-19 with their employees because they're in very close quarters together. So they would be a part of those individual businesses who can apply for that. The different farming communities can apply for it. We've seen the impact to our farming in many different ways that have the ability now to apply for those loans. Before they weren't available to apply, but now they're giving time and stipulation to apply. And let's be fair. Oftentimes, no one was really 100% prepared on a financial level to deal with COVID-19 and its impact and how it spread. So I'd like to believe that while these businesses were doing business as usual, they may not have been minding their business to the effect and the level required to submit for a loan application. So the SBA, I believe, is giving them a grace to say, okay, you got to get these things together. Someone could say, hey, my specialty is farming. I get out here and I make it happen on the land. I don't know nothing about this other stuff. Or I don't handle this other stuff. Or, you know, we're a small family farm and we keep books, but we don't keep them the way you're requiring for us to, give you information. So it's just my expectation that they're giving them the grace and the time to submit the application so that they can be processed and assisted accordingly. But to answer the question again directly, it does not say 30 days. It doesn't say 10 days. It just says right now it's agricultural businesses only.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, and Larry, go ahead, Larry.
Ms. Scott, we had some people get denied from the EIDL loan because of their credit. We thought that the credit shouldn't have mattered because it's an emergency relief, but we have gotten at least 4 people for the EIDL loan. This isn't a PPP loan. This is for the EIDL loan has been denied because of their credit.
Shay, were you able to hear Larry there?
I did not hear him. I went onto my tablet so I can listen to what he was saying and then try to catch up. But if you can give me a quick synopsis, I don't know what's going on. You know what I believe, y'all? I believe we got some good information. And anytime you got some good information and you got some good content, sometimes you're going to deal with a little bit of adversarial, combat, but I'm ready for it. So if you give me a synopsis, Chase, I would greatly appreciate it.
So he was saying that there are several members that applied for the EIDL program and they were denied because of credit. And can you speak to that, or because we was under the impression that the EIDL program was not based on credit, is what he was asking.
Great point. What I know to be true within the content of the application and the loan. Now, the way it was stipulated initially, this was not supposed to be credit worthiness. It was not supposed to be with regards to your credit score, your credit rating, or, you ain't got to check Carfax or, Credit Karma or any of those. It was not supposed to be with regards to that. However, working within the financial industry, having worked within the industry, having Scholastic, stamps behind my name and all the rest of it, I'm not just speaking from what I heard, I'm speaking for what I know. Anytime there's language that says loan, anytime there's a language that says loan, there's going to be some scrutiny. Anytime there says, please let me know how you're impacted within the application. Please let me know how long your business has been operating. I'll tell you real life, true 100% examples today. My company has been in the business for over 12 years. My company has a handful of employees, and we're doing well. We are definitely in the black with my organization, and we're continuing to grow. And I'm so grateful to the Lord for that. With that being said, I have clients who have been in business maybe less than 2 years, less than 3 years, definitely less than 5 years. I had a client that, several clients, but a couple of them that have restaurants. Those restaurateurs received grants. They were denied for loans because on a business side, and people will be like, but that's not fair. On a business side, restaurants have the highest turnover. The highest turnover. They are not, you may be in business today and gone today, and it has nothing to do with COVID-19. And so it's not a thing that, I don't believe that they didn't want to give the loan because I don't like you or you're in a particular demographic outside of a business acumen. I believe it was, okay, what is the likelihood that this business would be available, operational, and able to service the community in the next 30 years, in the next 5 years? What does their revenue intake look like? So there's a lot of different factors that go into it. Same thing, I have another client, the client I was telling you all about that I talked to this morning. All these clients are reaching out. I love my clients. I love y'all. Anyway, sorry. All those clients that I have another client in Colorado. That client offers a business that you can do remotely. It's a virtual assistance business. She's been in operation for under 5 years. She got a grant and a loan. So I'm telling you, I believe that from just looking at those, my sphere and my perspective, I can see where anyone that's looking to provide a loan that they desire to be repaid, they're looking at the longevity of the business, the likelihood that the business will be in business to repay the loan. If not, they would say, well, everything is going to be a grant. They didn't say that. They stipulated This amount up to $10,000 is going to be grant money. This amount, however, we're going to review about giving you a loan, but we're going to at least try to get you an emergency grant. And were they late giving the emergency grants? They absolutely were. But that same restaurant that did not get the loan received $6,000 in grant money that they don't have to pay back. Does that answer the question or address what Mr. Williams was saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other question I would have for both of you guys here, for the listeners, I know, if it's right along the lines of what Larry just asked here, if they did not receive the PPP or the EIDL loan because of this credit worthiness, that shouldn't be an issue that we're now seeing is an issue. And we know that'll be dealt with later on with other entities. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think the Justice Department's already starting to deal with those banks. There's an article that I read where the Justice Department's already dealing with those big banks for doing just that. So that is already happening. Are there other programs? How can someone mind their business that say, okay, I'm in need of this help. I didn't qualify. What can my business do? Are there other programs available? Are there alternative programs or an alternative route through the PPP where I can't go to the bank? Or what other programs are available to me if I'm exhausting these SBA routes?
Mm-hmm. All right. Are you directing that to me first?
Both you and Larry.
All right. I jumped in real fast. I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, jumped in real fast. What I will say is, yes, there are other options available to you. We just saw even today, and I saw that the Indiana Black Chamber of Commerce posted it as well, that Magic Johnson is actually infusing an additional $100 million into the SBA program, specifically to deal with minority businesses, women-led businesses that was kind of left out in the cold or did not meet some of the standards that were required by the financial institutions. I have a client just like that. She went and applied. She finally got a grant. We're so grateful for that. But she did not get it directly through the SBA. She had to go through another system. I know that there is LISC. I talked to Mr. Williams about that before. They also have a program. So there are some other programs out there that are trying to assist with getting some funds that are be grants, some funds that may be via the lending source. And I know that to be true. And I'll turn the other portion of that answer over to Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Yeah, we are focused as the Black Chamber to make sure that we're advocating that we're getting resources to our members and to the Black community because, like you said, I mean, there are so many stipulations that this was supposed to just, hey, emergency funds we're sending out to help businesses, period. You know, it wasn't that many stipulations. And then now on the back end, there's so many that we're getting lost in the shuffle as usual. So as the Black Chamber, our job is to go ahead and focus and get these resources and partner with LISC, the Indy Chamber. There's two other organizations right now we're in talks with to get money so that we can, if it's not loan out, at least give some grants out so we can make sure people can still function during this COVID time.
Great. Thank you guys for that. Now, another question that has come up, and I had some questions that came up earlier prior to this that no members wanted to get answered, was let's talk about after the PPP. So those individuals that who have received the loans over the past 6 weeks that this has been about, because the 8-week cycle is coming to an end. Now, and also the SBA did release just shortly, 2 days ago, I believe, they released the guidelines, or which from the sounds of things, the first set of guidelines, it sounds like is what it's going to be, the first set of guidelines around what it's going to take to get some of these loans forgiven. And it seems like some of it's not quite what we thought it was going to be. Can you just kind of speak to what our business is expected to do now in order to get this loan forgiven, the documentation that's required, and this new application that the SBA just put out in the last 2 days?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Chase. I I want to make it absolutely crystal clear for everyone that the loan forgiveness is not automatic. Hear me clearly. The loan forgiveness for your PPP, for those that did receive it, is not automatic. They are not calling it a Paycheck Protection Program grant. They're calling it the Paycheck Protection Program. And should you meet the stipulations within the program, that money will be turned into a grant. There is a lot of information that they sent out. One thing we want to make sure that we do for those that receive the paycheck protection and those that will receive it, because they're still accepting applications for that. You want to make sure that you are minding your business as it relates to how you spend this money. I know when we were applying for the Paycheck Protection Loan Program, we had to make sure that we understood that 75% of those funds had to be spent on employee salaries. That's one. They had to be spent on employee salaries. Two, there should be no reduction intentionally by the employer with the number of employees that they qualified for initially within the application to receive the funds. That's a mouthful. What am I saying? You can't get the funds and then fire everybody. Can't do that. You can't get the funds and then lay them off. Can't do that either. You get the funds upon receipt of them. You keep everyone at their same pay rate. You keep the same number of employees. So if I own Acme Incorporated, I don't, but say I did. If I owned Acme Incorporated, I have 5 employees. Each of those 5 employees are receiving $500 a month. That's $2,500 a month that's going out. I cannot all of a sudden decide that employee A is not working up to my standards, and so I want to get rid of them, because really what I want to do is lessen my impact and lessen my outflow. I have to keep everything the same. That's number one. 75% of the money that I receive from the PPP has to go to sustain the business that I'm saying has been negatively impacted by COVID-19. What does that also mean? So let me give it to everybody brass tacks. That's going to help you, because I have an 11-page document from the SBA.gov that talks about the Paycheck Loan Forgiveness Program and the loan forgiveness application. Application? Why? Why application? Because I told you at the beginning of this statement, it is not an automatic forgiveness. You have to apply for the forgiveness, and they will stipulate what you need to do to ensure that you're forgiven. Let me give you some of the things that they're talking about. You got to still have the same business name. You can't go apply under anybody else's name. That seems pretty legit. You got the name, you got the loan under this particular name, so you got to keep that. You have to make sure you have the same address. You have to have the PPP loan number. Why am I saying all this? Because oftentimes we're good at what we're good at, and what we're not good at, we're horrible at. We don't manage business properly. What does that mean? If you own a lawn care business, you are great at cutting the grass, you're great at fertilizing, you're great at making sure things are in order, your lines are straight, all of that, your equipment, all that good stuff is wonderful. But when it comes down to your bookkeeping, abysmal. What I'm saying is you can't go and talk your way out of this if you receive the Paycheck Protection Program and you had 5 individuals that were working within your lawn care business. You have to make sure that you kept up with your application number. Yes, they have your name, your social security number, and all those things, but keep up with your application number. Keep up with the loan amount that they gave you. Do not ask someone else what they gave you. You stipulate to them what was given to you. They may forget. Absolutely. They may, I'll just say they might forget. They may forget. You want to make sure you have that. They want you make sure on the application that you have a copy of your application. I know many people submitted the application. Did you take screenshots? Did you take screenshots of your application? Because all of those applications, they went through the system, but they did not give you a PDF of what you submitted. You had to have a screenshot. You have to remember, did you report that you had 5 employees or 10? Things like that. You got to make sure that you're stipulating the same information within the application that you applied initially. So that stuff has to match on the back end. Secondarily, you got to make sure that you have the payroll schedule. They're asking about your payroll schedule. What does that mean? You are minding your business. And by you, I mean proverbial you, and receive this all in love and care. You're minding your business. And so as you're minding your business and you get $10,000, $50,000 in a PPP loan, you don't immediately distribute $50,000 to your employees. That's not how that works. You have to make sure that you are giving it to them on schedule. If they get paid weekly, it's still a weekly schedule of payment, not just a lump sum that you give out. And if you are on your payroll, please don't give yourself a bonus with this money. They don't like that. Doesn't look good. In fact, that will jeopardize your loan forgiveness. Chase, I'm going to stop there and ask you or Mr. Williams to interject to see if you have some questions.
Now, yeah, I have a question because I do remember one article from Forbes did on it to make sure that that people qualified for above and beyond the 75% on the payroll. Mm-hmm. One of the things that they talked about is maybe giving the employees a raise, since a lot of the loan is 2.5 months. You got 2.5 months in your loan itself, which is 10 weeks, but only 8 weeks is covered, which some businesses may find themselves. And also that from the time they received the loan, which could have been in the middle of a pay period, that also may have an adverse effect on this forgiveness portion, which, that needs to be spoken to. And some make the suggestion that maybe you did give the employees a raise, so that money could be used in that 8-week period. So is that something you would suggest or not suggest? Or how should a business get around that if they did receive the loan in the middle of a pay period? And of course, especially if they're on a biweekly cycle with their
right. I think it's one thing to speak to getting your employees caught up. So for a business that they didn't have any funds, for a business, and I use my lawn care business again, they are able to, I have a client, they're out of Carolina. They're able to pay their employees or their contractors based on work committed that day, work completed that day. So when the work stopped, they weren't able to pay them, for example. Or not only when the work stopped, but when the money stopped flowing in. If they had business contracts, for example, and the business contracts are saying, oh, we can't pay you guys because we are behind or we don't have any money or whatever the case may be. So it's a domino effect. Bottom line, what I'm saying is individuals had completed a service, but they did not receive the pay that was due. They received the PPP funds. And from what I see here in the guidelines, you can pay what is owed as it relates to the employee's salary. I would caution individuals from saying, I'm going to give you an increase on your salary to make up for what is owed. I would much rather see them say, there was a deficit that I owed this salary. I was unable to pay the salary because I didn't have any income. Thank goodness for the PPP program. I received the income. Now I can pay what's owed, but I will not give them an increase to make up for it, because this is the question. Are you going to maintain that increase, their pay raise, after the PPP money is exhausted? Or are you going to put them back at a different level? Are you going to put them back to the amount that they were at before? That creates a little bit of a conundrum. That creates a little bit of some stickiness that I would encourage my customers not to do. Get them settled, balance the books of what you owe them based on what is truly owed, but do not inflate their income for the sake of reconciling what is owed. You could easily prove within your books, I owed them this, they performed, I didn't have any money to pay them, now I do. I paid them what was owed. So that's why this check, if they're weekly, they received a 2-week instead of a 1-week payment. Or if they're bi-weekly, they received a 4-week payment instead of a 2-week payment, or however that goes. You can stipulate that financially, and with how things happen with COVID-19 and how it impacted you better, I believe, than just saying, oh, they were making $10 an hour, now they're making 15. Does that answer your question, or what do you think about that?
It did. And if the loan is not forgiven, if they find themselves in a situation where their loan is not forgiven, they did not reach that 75%, or they find themselves not being able to meet the requirements. And I think some businesses are going to find themselves within that if they're not, what as we said, this is about minding your business with care. It's understanding what the CARE Act stipulations are. And Larry, did you get that 11-page document? Did you guys get that over there, or do we need to be able to send that to you guys? So for your members to have that document of what the actual requirements look like for that?
Yes, we got the document, the program, the application. That's why it's so important. Documentation, I think in the Black business community is where we lack the most is documentation. We're great at, building a chair, and we could sell T-shirts all day, but, doing the documentation, the behind the scenes, we lack. And I think our ego doesn't allow us to say, hey, this is what I need help with. And so as a Black chamber, that is our focus, is to help that back office in, where we know we lack the most in is the paperwork. Because, when the city or the state sends you paperwork to make a bid, we get tired and like, look, that's just too much paperwork. They're going to take me 3 days. I ain't doing it. It's worth it, but, they don't have the documentation. I mean, that's why a lot of us didn't get the PPP loan. It's because we didn't have the documentation to be approved for, because we couldn't show, what our W-2s were, or, how much money did we spend on our employees and what they made. So, I just push every time I get in front of our members, is documentation.
And so we understand that if the PP loan, if they don't meet the forgiveness qualifications, then that loan will still be a loan and not a grant. So from what I'm understanding, then at that point they have 2 years to pay the loan back at a 1% interest rate. Is that correct?
That's
Are you
correct.
asking me or Mr. Williams?
Yeah, what's Shay?
That is what I'm seeing in the documentation here. Yes, that is correct. But also I would say, make sure that you review any other documentation that may come from your lender, because the PPP program, are being managed by financial institutions and banks, and we've seen a lot of different things that came through. So if there's any other documentation that you signed, any other promissory note details that you signed, make sure you balance the information that you're given here with the information that is sent to you from your lender. For example, if I can just touch on this really quickly, there's a summary of cost eligibility for forgiveness, meaning they have like little points as what is eligible for payroll costs. So they'll say here from SBA.gov on that 11-page document, it says, borrowers are generally eligible for forgiveness for the payroll costs paid and payroll costs incurred during the 8-week, 56-day covered period, or alternative payroll covered period called or classified as payroll costs. Payroll costs are considered paid on the day that paychecks are distributed or the borrower originates an ACH credit transaction. You paid them, send it directly to my account. Payroll costs are considered incurred on the day that the employee's pay is earned. So that's the example that I talked about before. Like, you may have to play catch up, and that's okay. Payroll costs incurred but not paid during the borrower's last pay period of the covered period are eligible for forgiveness if paid on or before the next regular payroll date. So there's my example again. You can definitely catch up. Otherwise, payroll costs must be paid during the covered period or alternative payroll covered period. For individual employees, the total amount of such compensation eligible for forgiveness may not exceed annual salary of $100,000. What am I saying? To extend even further with that example, for some reason, lawn care owner, business owner did not pay or catch up his employees' amount that was due to them. So now he owes them some money. He just started, paying them again when he got the money, but didn't pay them for the back pay. In order for the loan to be forgiven, whatever you need to shore up or pay your employees that is due to them, you need to pay it within this loan forgiveness period time frame and not extend it out. That could jeopardize it. And I know those that are working with the Indiana Black Chamber of Commerce, those that are looking at this video, I know that you are paying your employees well. I know that you're paying them on time. I know that if you owe any man anything, you're going to get them paid, especially now that you have the funds to pay them. Let's go a little bit further, but I want to pause there and ask Chase if he has any questions or we need to clarify anything with that.
So we do have a question from Victor here. Is the 11-page document available online or somewhere accessible? I can definitely, I think, Larry, if you have it, I can definitely send it, or Tashay can send it. But it is on SBA.gov for that particular document. So if you do want access to the document, and Larry, I'm sure you'll probably have it on the, is it on the website for your members?
We can get it set up for that.
Okay. And I do have a question around, you did hit on a good point there, and this really speaks to the 1099 contractors, because there's been, that's where the language I've seen so far is getting a little bit fuzzy, where the Paycheck Protection Program monies that the 1099 contractors receive, at what point is it deemed forgivable because we're 1099, or do we have to follow the same process? And then for those 1099 contractors, which are many that are already over the $100,000 mark, there's this maximum 2-week, what is it, 38, 46, 15. They've been very specific with that number. Can you speak to that number and what that means for, because I know a lot of people here are 1099 contracts. We fall into that category where we're self-employed. Can you speak to that and what the documentation needs to look like there, so to make sure that their loans are forgiven?
Absolutely. It goes back again to the eligible for the payroll costs, and this is specifically for forgiveness. And it has that line that says for each employee, including an independent contractor, because you are your own. I'm my boss, I'm my employee, I'm everything. I'm a one-stop shop is what the independent contractors are saying. For each employee, the total amount of cash compensation eligible for forgiveness may not exceed an annual salary of $100,000 as prorated for the covered period. So what that's saying, if you take the annual salary, you divide that by 12, you have your monthly salary, and they're saying it should not exceed the annual salary amount of $100,000 if you just chop that up. And so for independent contractors, same type of thing. You want to, if you're normally taking a draw or you're taking a certain amount, and you'll see this in your income as it relates to your financial account, your banks can see this. So keep everything above board, keep everything honest, keep everything clear. If you know that on a monthly basis, you don't make $12,000, you're not making $6,000, $8,000, you're making $5,000, and you may have gotten, you know, the $10,000 or whatever it is, or maybe even 15 for the PPP. Do not take the $15,000 just because you're an independent contractor in a lump sum as your pay for 1 month. Take it as a draw. Do it the same way as if you as you had earned it. Don't take it because what it looks like is that you gave yourself a big bonus. It doesn't look like payroll. So
for the contractor that does make $12,000 a month, but it says they don't want to see more than this $3,800, let's just say $3,800 amount for a 2-week period, what must they do in order to make sure that they're still qualifying? Because they do make over in their pre-COVID, they would have made the $12,000. So now are they having to show a decrease in their draw in order to be able to qualify for the program to be forgiven?
What I would say to that is not exceed what you normally have done. If you want to play it completely safe, keep it below what you normally have done, so that you know that you are well within the range of the loan forgiveness program. If there's a number that's stipulated that says, I don't feel comfortable, and that's really what the SBA is saying. We don't feel comfortable with you taking these lump sums. We don't feel comfortable with you taking, an excess amount of money. It just looks like we're giving you free money that you haven't earned. It looks like we're giving you a bonus, and that's not the intent. So if there's a stipulation that states, don't take any more than $3,800, don't take any more than $3,086.50, don't take any more than that. Stay within that stipulation. Let's be clear. You're not being evicted from your home. You should be able to pay your mortgage or your rent or whatever the case may be. Hopefully you're able to still take care of your car note and take care of things that you need to do. You're still able to live well. That's still a nice chunk of money to be able to get by. And look at this as well. Some of the country is opening up. Now, whether or not you're participating, that's your business. But you have the ability to move about a little bit more freer so that you can earn more coins to help balance off where you may receive a deficit. I would say on an excellent level, stay within the range that has been stipulated. And if you can go a little bit below that, then do that. And when you get to that maximum level, so you can make your 100 grand, slide a little bit over to the IBCC. They'll take a grant.
Better believe it.
So speaking to some of the states and some of the businesses that are reopening, how does this affect? I know the EIDL loan is not so much affected by this, but how does that affect the PPP loan for those that are now just getting the PPP loan, or they've gotten in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and now the states are reopening, and they may be one of those lists. How does that affect them? Because it seems like that would definitely affect the ability to have this loan forgiven if they're opening back up in the middle of this, or forced to open back up, or things of that nature. What recommendations or advice do you have around that? And that's both to you and Mr. Williams.
I'll defer to Mr. Williams to let him begin, and because I do a lot of talking and wet a whistle.
Yeah, still the PPP loan is for payroll. Either way, even if they're opened up. I mean, I've been open the whole time this has been going on. Actually, I would tell you that my company has tripled. My contracts have tripled since the COVID. So we still use the PPP loan for employees, and that's what it's for. And so, it will not affect them if they open up.
Okay, great. Tasha, you have anything to add for that?
I agree with Mr. Williams, and with your business opening up, some may not have the favorable experience, which is awesome, of their business growing, or they may have to, reach out to people and say, hey, we're back open, we're doing business a little differently. The whole point of the PPP was to keep the business up, to keep the business afloat. And I would just say, stay within the stipulations of the loan forgiveness program as is, stipulated here, and make sure that you don't do anything that would be unfavorable for the loan to be forgiven. For example, they go on and they have what is, eligible for forgiveness. And then they even talk about eligible non-payroll costs, which we haven't talked about that. So we have the payroll side of things that you're eligible for, that's loan forgiveness, but there are some non-payroll costs that will also keep you eligible for forgiveness. So in something like with Mr. Williams, what he's experiencing, like, okay, my company is running, we're doing some things, but it says eligible non-payroll costs eligible for forgiveness consist of covered mortgage obligations, payments of interest, not including any prepayment. So you can't pay it off. You can't be like, let me pay y'all 6 months in advance. Can't do that. Or payment or principal on any business mortgage obligation. Let me say that again. On any business mortgage obligation on real or personal property incurred before February the 15th, 2020. So business mortgage insurance interest payments. It talks about what else is eligible: covered rent obligations, business rent or lease payments pursuant to lease agreements for real property or personal property in force before February 15, 2020. Why do I keep emphasizing business? Please do not take this money and apply for the application and stipulate that it is your home office, your home mortgage. Don't stipulate it's for anything, don't pay anybody's rent with this money, y'all. Don't help. This is not the money that you use to help nobody out with. This is the money that you use to keep your business afloat. They are stipulating it has to be business, which means you have to have a legal lease. You have to have a legal lien mortgage information to prove that this is for the business. If it's for the business name is going to be there somewhere. They're going to know that this is commercial property, right? Then it goes on to say covered utility payments, business payments for a service for the distribution of electricity, gas, water, transportation, telephone, or an internet access for which service began before February the 15th, 2020. And eligible non-payroll costs must be paid during the covered period. Don't wait to the end of the month. Don't pay them late and all that stuff. During the covered period or incurred during the covered period and paid on or before the next regular billing cycle, even if the billing date is after the covered period. Eligible non-payroll costs cannot exceed 25%. That's where you go back to the beginning of this conversation where I said 75% of this is employee salaries. It's salaries. 25% of that is for eligible non-payroll costs, mortgage, equipment, repairs, things of that nature. 25% of that money can be used that way. So for someone like Mr. Williams, it's like, oh, or any business, I'm not going to exhaust the payroll side, but if your business has a location, equipment, and all that good stuff, dues that's due, non-payroll costs. Did I answer your question, Chase?
Absolutely. And what I want to do too is make sure that we're providing our listeners too, as it comes to this documentation and preparing for this forgiveness. Now that they've received a loan, or those that are getting ready, I would probably want to speak to those that are getting ready to receive a loan. As you said earlier, a lot of people are just now getting the loan. What clear steps could you provide that they need to do? And once they receive the money, what steps should they be taking, leading them toward this minding of their business from a documentation standpoint to make sure that they're going to be in line with the requirements to get this loan forgiven? Are there some clear steps that they should take with that money once that money hits their accounts?
Absolutely. One thing I would tell, and I'll tell you what I tell my clients, I would have them set up an escrow account or a separate account that you can strategically see and use leverage. And what I mean by that is you could leave the money in your regular business account and work with it, and that's fine. But because I know we're applying for loan forgiveness, I'm saying, hey, set up another little account over to the side and set up a system to where you're taking draws from it. Like we talked about earlier, if you get paid on a weekly basis, whatever that weekly payment or payroll cost is, that is what you draw and pull out from that account. And you're showing that, and you have a track record of that, and it's on record even with your banking institution to prove I didn't use this money in any old crazy way. I used it for my business, and I can show you here. Here's the bank statement. Here's a screenshot of the details that show on this date, this is the only amount that was drawn. I got a $5,000 loan. We had a payroll cost of $1,000 for each week for 5 weeks. One time a week, you just see that one draw. And then maybe that 5th week, that was when I paid my mortgage, my business mortgage. That's when I paid for the business lease on the car. That's when I paid the business cell phone, whatever the case may be. I would say definitely set it up in such a way that it is clear and easy to understand that this was for business purposes alone. Get away from commingling your funds.
Larry, do you have anything to add to that you guys may be doing or recommending that your business may be doing that may be helpful?
Sure. We have 3 different accounts for we have one for, payroll. We have one for where we do our rent and uniforms and everything. And then we have just another savings account, that we can borrow off of as we grow.
Tashay, you think you're on mute there? Hold on, let me unmute you here. You're on mute, yeah. Tashay? Okay. All right. So around other things, okay, so we've talked about the PPP results. Let's talk about how to pivot your business. Now that we've got the money, now that we're growing, and this really pertains to the idle, about how some of those idle funds may need to be spent or should be spent. And also understanding too that, you know, you're not alone out here. I mean, this is a team effort, and you should want to make sure that you're building your team, because I think what we're seeing around the PPP and the idle loans, what I would call some risk management. And now we're seeing where those people who may not know about risk management or have that as a part of their business has to realize that even taking these loans, a risk, every time people say risk, they normally think, oh, negative. But let me define what a risk really is. The risk can be seen as an opportunity or a threat to your business. So yeah, there's an opportunity in idle to take the money to grow your business, expand your business, but also the risk side of it too, from the standpoint of if you're not getting the documentation in place, if you're not minding your business, that what you thought might be a grant might now be a debt and a detriment to your business. So can we talk about, and this is that pivoting piece of making sure the documentation is in place so we can have more of the grant side of things versus having the debt side of things. And also, as we said, idle on how to do maybe some good risk management and or some project management now, and which may include employing people or finding consultants to help you properly manage that money, manage the outflow of that money for particular projects for expansion, and helping you with the risk management pieces, like a in taxation area or accounting or the bookkeeping like you do, Tashay. And that's for either one of you to answer. I know that was a lot.
Mr. Williams, did you want to take it?
You got
Okay. All right, thank you. One thing I would say, yes, a part of the whole theme of us talking today is just about minding your business and ensuring that you mind your business well. And so a part of minding the business is doing well what you do well. I use the example of the lawn care industry or Acme Incorporated, or if you have, I think Mr. Williams talked about a t-shirt business, or you're a painter, or anything of that nature. You're a bricklayer, whatever it is. Mind your business well. I interviewed, actually was with a client wrapping up their taxes this past Saturday. And I've been doing their taxes for many, many years. He's a business owner. His wife works. And one thing we were talking about on the business side of things is how he could become a bit more optimal with his business. I was asking him for receipts that would help lessen his tax liability, because he does a lot of work and he had some contractors. And I was asking him, did John Doe make $600 or more this year? And some people don't realize it, or they don't remember, or they're not sure of any of that. Bottom line, it came down to, he said, I need you to do this for me. How do I do this? How do I set this up for you? And I'm like, oh, that's easy. So we talked about a strategy of how he would get his receipts to me. He would be able to, send over, we would manage all of his accounts receivable and his accounts payable if he desired. He would get his receipts electronically sent to me. So he doesn't even have to come to my office. He can send them to me electronically. What I'm saying with regards to that example is, if you are not good at minding the financial side of your business, please get a partner. I would love to work with you. Absolutely, I would. But if you don't want me, find someone that is good at minding your business for you, that you can trust, because we are talking about your business. You want to be able to trust them. But interview them, talk to them about what your business needs are. Let them give you ideas that you may not be even aware of. And there are sometimes, just in having conversation with someone, they can help give you strategies that will take your business to another level, because they're minding their business by offering a quality service. So that's one thing I would say. If you want to keep it in-house. The second thing, if you want, like, no, I just want to do it myself, I would say this. Do you understand Excel? Do you know how to use Excel? You need to mind your business in an electronic way. And I know I can hear somebody in the background. There's somebody in the back that's saying, why? Why should I mind my business in an electronic way? I'm doing just fine, just keeping these receipts in my shoebox. You know why? The PPP application. You know why? COVID-19. Dear Lord, we don't want a COVID 2021, 23. We don't want any more COVIDs. We don't want any more of them. But should another situation such as the one that we are experiencing occur, and you've been minding your business in the shoebox, or you've been sometimes minding your business on your record in your little notebook and sometimes not minding it, and you need to leverage the loan applications, the institutions that have the money, they don't want your notebook. They don't want you sending your shoebox full of receipts. They will not accept the information that way. They want details that are available for them electronically. They want to be able to get it from a CSV, comma separated value. You got that? Using it in Excel, Notepad. Even if you open it up and you type it in Word, you have to be able to keep this information available to you. That is inclusive of making sure you file your taxes. This is not a commercial break for the S Group. This is straight up real life business, minding your business. You need to file your taxes. You need to file your taxes and be like, oh, I don't want the man in my pocket. If you don't want the man in your pocket, don't come with your hand asking the man to give you anything. You got to make sure that you are filing your taxes. You got to make sure that you're submitting this information. A lot of people even had a problem with receiving their stimulus check because it was almost like they didn't exist. You want to be off the grid, but on the grid in case they got some money for you, but off the grid again. You got to make sure that you're handling and filing your business taxes. Believe it or not, all of my clients, let me say this well, you can leverage. I've seen commercials. I've seen a lot more commercials now that I've been, not doing my little hitch thing, keeping things secret to myself. I've been seeing a lot more commercials about people teaching you how to mind your business to where your tax liability is not going to be what you think it is. The reason why many people are afraid of filing their taxes is because they think they're going to owe some astronomical amount of money. But if you are minding your business appropriately, you might be a little Amazon in the waiting. You might be somebody that make a whole bunch of money and don't pay nothing in taxes. So all I'm saying is, in answering that and wrapping it up, I know I'm detailed. Thank y'all for patience. Mind your business. And if you can't mind your business yourself, please find a partner that will help you mind it so that you can go to the next level. And Chase, how was that?
It's fantastic. And I do believe it's a team effort. And Mr. Williams, as far as the Indy Black Chamber is concerned, for those individuals that are on that may not be members, does the Black Chamber provide education around setting up the business and things that they can do? Is there education or programs that you guys offer for those that are not members that are watching?
Sure. We offer a program where we take you from zero to doing the business plan to get you started. And then once we get you going, then we go out and advocate and make sure you get contracts. So that's the whole point of the Black Chamber. We also have a mentoring program so that we are mentoring you while you are getting these contracts so that you not only keep them, but also grow and get ready to go to the next contract. So the whole point of the Black Chamber is to grow our Black businesses through each other and get them contracts. And then that way they can hire other Black people so we can all grow together. And as we grow the Black community, we grow Indianapolis as a whole.
And I think that's what we're here for. We're just really here to make sure that we can help your business grow, sustain, survive, and thrive. I think is the core what we're here to stand for. And I also put all the emails on the screen to reach out to anyone that's here. If there's questions that you have offline, feel free to email us. We're happy to answer your questions or if questions comes up and address the questions on other topics at other times. But know that we're here for you, and we do believe it's a community effort and community approach. Any final thoughts, Mr. Shea from Desk Group?
Final thoughts is I'm so very glad that we have this opportunity to prove yet again that we have viable businesses, that we are a viable community, that we can be supportive of each other, that we can outlast and outlive just about anything. What I would say, if there are businesses out there that you are able to support, go ahead and support them. Go ahead. If there's a restaurateur or a person that has a t-shirt or, different local businesses right in your backyard, be of a great support to them. This is a wonderful time to support that business, and just make yourself available to them in a kind way with a kind gesture. If we can be of any assistance to you at any time, please reach out to us. We are here to serve. And what you'll hear us saying is, how can I help you? That's the whole point. How can we help you?
And Mr. Williams from the Indiana Black Chamber.
Yes, I love this partnership that we have with you two, and it's been great, and it's some great information that we're putting out here to our community. And I just want to thank you two for being great professionals and doing a great job with our webinars that we put on together. I also want to say that tomorrow, every Friday, we do Shopping Our Stores. It's SOS. We do Facebook Live at 1 o'clock. So we'll have 4 businesses that we are promoting and making sure that we still show access for our businesses since they can't open. We're going to do it on Facebook, and we want you to please buy some things from that we have on the show tomorrow at 1.
Fantastic. Well, we are Essential Success Principles partnered with the Indiana Black Chamber of Commerce. We're here to serve you as a community. Larry, brother, Mr. Williams here will let us know when he will have us back on, and we'll continue to try to do and put out this information. And if there's topics that you want us to talk about or topics that you want to discuss that we not yet touched on, please feel free to email us there, or email the Black Chamber, or email myself. I will put that on the end of the show, and also share this broadcast with those that you know that need to hear this information. Please share it for us. And we, again, thank you. And we hope to see you next time on Essential Success Principles with the S Group and the Black Chamber of Commerce.